Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another episode of Double Take. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Ida Lupino, somebody we don't talk enough about in this channel. We're going to go back to 1952 and 1953 for a double bill of Beware My Lovely with Robert Ryan and Jennifer with Howard Duff. This is on imprint. I think these two were part of one of imprint's box sets, noir box sets. I think they're on number 3 or 4 by now. So there's no like spine number, this is just a standard edition. But it's brilliant for doing a double take. Obviously it's just the disc with the two films on them. Now, Ida Lupino is a bit of a trailblazer. Obviously, there were female directors in Hollywood before Ida Lupino, but maybe not the fact that she was never maybe a major star, but she was certainly a star of some level. Originally born in London, she came over to Hollywood and immediately realised that what they wanted out of female actors probably didn't suit her. When she signed with Warner Brothers, she did become a bit of a troublemaker and was constantly on suspension for turning down roles and changing scripts and generally having a brain, which Warner Brothers certainly didn't like. So in between times of inactivity as far as starring in films, she learned about the technical side. Originally she kind of wanted to be more of a writer, but was kind of almost pushed into acting by her father. Came from a very theatrical background. So obviously she directed films like The Hitchhiker. She had her own production company with one of her 3 husbands, I think. She did Outrage, which is also available on imprint, which is about rape, which is obviously not a subject that Hollywood dealt with a lot. Obviously the word rape's never in the film because that would be too much, but that's quite fantastic as well. And she also directed The Bigamist, which is kind of interesting because she starred in it, and the other woman in the film was actually in a real life relationship with her ex-husband, who she started the production company with, while she was married to her third husband, who's Howard Duff, who's in Jennifer. So that's a quick potted history. So we'll start with Jennifer because it's probably the least of the two films. It's still solid. These two films are fairly simplistic. Ida Lupino is applying for a job as a caretaker in an old house whose previous caretaker, because they obviously had a run on taking on female caretakers, called Jennifer, disappeared and nobody knows where she is. So very much like Laura from 1944, this is titled for a woman who doesn't appear in the film, not even in flashback, and she may or may not be dead. Ida Lupino has issues of her own. It's actually not similar, but it does echo The Haunting, Robert Wise, which would come in 1962, about a perhaps emotionally insecure or mentally insecure woman goes to a big strange house. In this case she's by herself obviously, and she feels like she's being watched. and Howard Duff is the kind of handyman that's been hired, and initially Lupino's character thinks it's maybe Howard Duff that's doing things he shouldn't, but then they team up to find out what's going on, perhaps whether Jennifer's still alive or not. And of course Howard Duff was actually Lupino's husband at the time. All of Lupino's films that she directed, and a lot of the ones that starred in, are about male violence. And this one's kind of no different. Again, it's a wonderful performance by Lupino, because again, she's not one of those female actors in Hollywood that's, yeah, she may play damsels in distress, but it's not just running about screaming like a headless chicken. Her brain is still attached, even though she may be scared for her life. So it's a solid little film. It does have a couple of shock moments near the end, including one very effective one. But it's a solid little picture. But again, it's just interesting that she's acting alongside her third husband, who may or not be up to shenanigans. But the real gem in this is Beware My Lovely, directed by Harry Horner, which does sound like a made up name, but he was actually probably more famous for production design. He was a production designer on The Hustler, The Driver, Born Yesterday. He was the production designer on Lupino's own Outrage. But he was a production designer on They Shoot Horses, don't they, as well. But he directed, I think, about 6 films, which Beware My Lovely is the only one I've seen. It's not a very good title, to be honest. It's a bit of a naff title. But this is Ida Lupino and Robert Ryan, who, of course, were in On Dangerous Ground in 1952, which rumour has it when Nicholas Ray was ill during the shooting of this, Lupino shot some of it as well. And again, this is very much a kind of two-hander, even though there are other people in the film. And Lupino stars as a war widow. This is set in 1918, which coincidentally is the year of Lupino's birth. But set in 1918, she's a war widow. Again, it has echoes of The Haunting, because it is this big kind of ornate house. And she's taking on a handyman who happens to be Robert Ryan. But we see in Robert Ryan's previous job, he may have been up to no good. And even Lupino's dog barks, and she hasn't heard him bark for years. So you can tell there's something wrong with Robert Ryan, because even the fluffy dog's barking at him. And Lupino is very much part of the community. The kids all know her, neighbours know her. It's 1918, everybody knew everybody, apart from all the ones that died in the First World War. So Robert Ryan, at first glance, obviously appears normal, but he's obviously not. He's got issues of mental illness, because he didn't get into the army. He wanted to get into the army, but they wouldn't let him, because he's got tendencies. And obviously Lupino's husband, she's got a picture of him in uniform, and he got a posthumous medal. So various things set Robert Ryan off. And of course Robert Ryan's a big guy, so he's very intimidating when he has one of his spells, that he forgets what he's done and has blackouts. But it pretty much ends up as he locks Ida Lupino in the house, and it's a battle of wits as Lupino tries to figure out how to get out. But then his episodes pass and he kind of forgets what he does, and it's like, oh well, I'll just go home now, and then he snaps back into it, and it's like the good times roll. But again, because it's Ryan, who obviously played a fair number of psychopaths in his time, obviously in Crossfire, obviously in Dangerous Ground, he plays like Dirty Harry, but worse. Well, maybe not. A cop with a temper who likes to beat suspects and witnesses up. So he's always plays kind of characters on the edge of exploding, and obviously does it very well. And Beware My Lovely, again, it's a pretty naff title. So even when Lupino's niece comes round to visit, she's kind of poking him, and why are you cleaning floors? It's not a great job for a man. She pours potato or drops potato chips on his clean floor, and he's almost about to explode, but kind of, so the niece can tell there's something wrong with him. It's only 77 minutes. It doesn't need to be any longer. It goes from 0 to 60 fairly quickly. And again, Lupino is not just running around the house screaming. You can see her brain's working. She's trying to figure out how to get out of this. She, tries manipulating him, trying to get on his side, but obviously there's moments where she's scared and whatever, but it's not just a blonde running around screaming for 70 minutes. It's just a wonderful film. Even the ending is fairly ambiguous and doesn't explain it to every detail, which is surprising. I think it's a Hollywood film, but even in the 50s they actually expected the audience to kind of add 2 plus 2 without telling them it's 4. It's just a really tight, well acted, pretty much one location film. It's an impressive house, but there's some really nice shots in the film, some really nice cinematography that, again, I go back to The Haunting, because I do wonder if Robert Wise actually saw both these films, because there is a definite haunting vibe as far as some of the shot compositions. There's lots of reflection and mirrors in Beware My Lovely in the house that are used to wonderful effect by the cinematography. Speaking of cinematography, I completely forgot to mention James Wong Howe shot Jennifer, who also did Sweet Smell of Success and lots of other stuff, and it does look rather nice. But there's a beautiful shot where Lupino thinks that Ryan's out the house and she thinks she's safe, and it counts as a Christmas movie the same way Die Hard counts as a Christmas movie, apparently. So she sees Ryan coming behind her, reflected on the Christmas baubles on the tree. It's a beautiful shot because there's multiple, it's not just one Christmas decoration he's reflected in, there's multiple Christmas decorations and he's reflected in as he approaches her. It's just a beautiful composition. Really nice setup. There's another one where the camera's on the floor because Ryan's ripped the telephone out so she can't phone anybody. So the telephone is spilled across the carpet, and then he throws Lupino on the floor and she's spilled in the background, the same as the telephone. So there's some really nice little compositional shots in the film from Harry Horner. It's just a lovely little film. Certainly I preferred it to Jennifer. I mean, Jennifer's solid, but apart from a couple of late flourishes, it's fairly standard. But Beware My Lovely, I would certainly recommend a lot more. To have two legends of the game like Robert Ryan and Ida Lupino going at it for 77 minutes, it's quite fantastic. There is a really good, there's a commentary on Beware My Lovely by Jason A. from 2023, and there's a really good piece by Pamela Hutchinson on Ida Lupino from 2023, where I found out quite a lot of this information. Pamela Hutchinson has done quite a lot on Indicator, focusing on female technicians and performers. So it's a really good piece on Ida Lupino on that release as well. It's just two really nice Lupino performances, especially Beware My Lovely. So thanks so much for watching this episode of Double Take. Please let me know if you've seen either of these films and what you think about it. And what is your favourite Ida Lupino film, either starring or directed by. And hopefully join me again for more Double Takes. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.